If you're sitting in the interior of a C5 Vet and you've got a Sawzall, chances are something just went wrong. Now, what's happening, guys? Jason with 316. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of C5 Corvette action. Now, I haven't really done a formal story on this car yet, but the gist of it is I had life crap come up. I got out of the new car game and I wound up going used. Got this 2001 C5 Corvette, 6-speed manual, just bone stock as can be. And I've been daily driving it, but one slight issue I'm having is that my butt has kind of gotten spoiled by new car luxury. And while the C5 Corvette was, you know, revolutionary in its day with the stuff it had, we're talking memory seats, we're talking Bose sound system, we're talking heads-up display, you know, full traction control, stability control setup. It was great in its day, but by today's standards, it's kind of not that great. But the great thing about being a mechanic is I can go in and I can fix all of this stuff, starting today with the Bose stereo. Now, back in the late 90s, Bose had switched off from their traditional style of round speakers and just traditional, you know, 6.5 speakers to what they called the pancake woofers. And they were like 8 inches, they were super thick, they were designed backwards compared to a normal one. A normal speaker, the magnet would be here, the cone would be here, and it would be inverted. This thing is like taking that magnet and shoving it this way and completely inverting the system. I've had a few cars with the pancake woofers and they all have the same thing in common: they sound like crap. Basically what this boils down to is I'm just going to go ahead and rip into this car. I'm going to replace it with all new stuff, and that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to come over here and see what Santa Claus brought. We have a Pioneer DMH 1500 NEX. This guy has Android Auto set up on it, so I'll get all of my GPS and phone compatibility working on there. I've gotten a backup camera here. It's an eRaptor. It was #1 rated on Amazon. It's supposed to have LEDs for good backup, because with the tint on this car, I can't see crap backing up. This will be replacing our Bose woofer in there. It'll house our new speakers on there, and this will bolt into the doors and give us that. And then, of course, we have a Mitra double din Bezel for the inside of the car. Now, the only thing I'm lacking is my subwoofer amp and wiring, which is being delivered today between now and the next 3 hours from here. So I can get started on getting all this stuff in, and it should be delivered in time to get this done. May finish the car today, may finish it tomorrow, but it's going to be a bit of a process, and we're going to walk you through it. So hang with me, I'll get everything set up and we will start. Alrighty, so the very first thing we're going to be starting with here is replacing these back speakers on this car, and they're 6.5 inch from the factory, and again, just not that good, because these are just basic Delco speakers back here. Never really that good, honestly. The sound system in my Suburban sounds better. And you can see the subwoofer that I'm working with here. This was designed for an F-body, but I think I can take this guy and I can trim off some of these ears right here, and I can get it to fit over here into this corner. Worst case scenario, I'll order a subwoofer box for it for the car that actually goes down into here, but I typically like my sound systems to be kicked off over to the side right there. I can still have access for my Targa top stuff and all that, but we'll just see how this goes right here. Worst case, I'll just sell this off. Anyway, moving on to these speakers here. Everybody that you find on these cars will tell you, oh, you got to take out this whole panel here and all of this stuff to get to this speaker. They're full of crap. All you got to do is pop that grill off. It just comes right off, no real fight to it, and in lies the speaker right here. This guy sounds terrible. Anyway, what we'll wind up doing is standard GM 9/32 bolts right here. And you can kind of see what GM does with their little connector system right here. It's just a little squeeze clippy. And yeah, pops right out of there, and we'll drop the new speakers in. And I have a scavenge pigtail put on. Now, I am a big fan of leaving factory connectors in place. A lot of people don't do it. They just chop off from them. it's really annoying whenever you go in there and want to put something back to factory and it's not factory anymore and you got to run down that pigtail. It's a nightmare. So I use these things right here, and what they do is they allow you to just clip onto a factory wire and make a pigtail off of it. They're not the prettiest thing in town, but you're not going to be seeing them anyway. And now Mr. Rockford Fosgates are in there. And I hooked it up and I tested it, and you can very much see what the problem is with the sound system. Despite the fact that this is a standard issue style loudspeaker, okay, normal, plain, everyday, no tweeter on it, zero bass is delivered to these back speakers from the head unit. I mean zero. The woofers don't even move. I don't know what anybody was thinking whenever they designed that, but they have no idea how car audio works. So head unit drives these, signal processor drives the door speakers. But these should have had bass on them too. I don't understand it, especially considering it has no tweeter on there. If you were going to run just tweeters back here, that would have worked. But why would you run that style speaker with no bass? 0 sense made to me. But I'm going to pop the speaker grills back on, and then we're going to move up to the front of the car, and what we're probably going to be doing up there is putting the head unit in, because the door stuff is probably going to be the hardest stuff remaining. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pop those back on real quick, and we will move up to the front with a better setup. So yeah, I'm going to try to get y'all set up in a spot where you can kind of see what I'm doing and work around this. Taking the center console portion out, it's really not hard. If you can look up my shifter how-to, it's 4 10mm bolts and a couple of electrical connectors, and it pops right out. Then there's torque screws, which I might have got the wrong torque driver for. I did. Okay, come back in with the proper torque driver. And there's just 3 of them behind the ashtray, next to the cigarette lighter, and behind the climate control vent. Yeah, my cigarette lighter. Ta-da! And now we come to the source of our whole problem here, this classic piece of crap GM Delco radio, which is the exact same radio that is in the 96 Impala SS, that's in my Suburban. Of course, it's the cassette version, and basically every junk Chevrolet made after 1995, 94, 95, somewhere in there. These things were a joke, but back in this day, nobody really cared about fancy high-end stereos. I don't even think double dins were a thing yet. The best thing you could get was a Kenwood or Alpine CD player that played MP3s. I mean, that was all the rage. Of course, times have changed dramatically. So a couple 9/32 bolts, and this guy should, with a little bit of coaxing, okay, maybe a lot of bit of coaxing, should just pop right out. So Mr. Stereo is out of there. And then of course somebody put in a hacked unit here. Okay. And this thing is a hacked unit that basically ties into the CD player on these GM units, and it gives you a aux cord. I didn't like how it was. It was giving me half audio most of the time, but I will hang on to this guy just because it's kind of cool and I might need it some other day. So now what we're going to be doing is, I've got a standard issue GM wiring harness doohickey. This stuff right here is more than likely your Bose sound system stuff, and not what I'm after, because I don't care about the Bose amps anymore because they're going to be deleted. So what we want is this guy right here, and I hope I bought the right one. I think I bought the right one. So now basically what we're going to do is tie in on the sound system here. I'm going to do a mock-up version before I do anything, before I solder anything, and make sure that all of my speaker connectors and everything are working as advertised. If not, I'm going to have to find the proper adapter, or I'm going to have to make my own essentially and just tie into it. We'll find out how it goes. But before I solder anything, I'm going to go ahead and mock this up. It's going to take me forever. You've seen me do this. I really like grabbing soldering irons. So I'm going to go ahead and mock this up and see if everything works right. If it does, then I'll turn the camera back on and we'll go on from there. Okay, so I did my little mock-up wiring here, and yes, this is the correct setup on there, but the only problem is I don't have a accessory power coming in from the ignition source. Now, GM did some weird stuff with their stereos back in this time, and basically it's got a retained accessory. Even though it's got an accessory switch on the dash, if you turn the key all the way to off, it stays on for 15 minutes in here. I don't care about that feature, never really have. If I got an accessory switch, I'm fine. But I did a little bit of Google foo, and they found out that there is a switched ignition hot over here in the general area that we can basically tap into and give us the switch power that we need. But everything else, all the speaker wires and everything else are set up just fine on here. I've already hooked up the stereo. I'm not sure how I feel about these Rockford Fosgates. I never tested them. I just had them sitting on the shelf. They were in a car that I bought. And honest to God, they're kind of cheap sounding. Now, typically you're not going to get a lot of bass out of a 6.5-inch speaker. That's why we have the subwoofer. So I'll hook it up and see how that sounds, but I may wind up getting some better speakers than that. We just got to see how it sounds whenever I've got it all together. But yeah, so basically the plan right now is soldering and not burning the ever-loving crap out of myself this time, but solder all these connections up and then find our 12-volt accessory switch over there, and then put it into the dash. So if you hang with me, I will go get this crap soldered up and heat shrunk and all of that stuff, and yeah, we'll move on. If you're sitting in the interior of a C5 Vet and you've got a Sawzall, chances are something just went wrong. Now, for the most part here, all the wiring is done on there. It was boring, it was complex, and my color blindness screwed me yet again. I got the Bluetooth mic set up here, run down there, all boring stuff. Now, thing about double din stereos and C5 Corvettes is they weren't designed for it. They were designed for a din and a half, and they were designed for shallow bullcrap. Whenever you compare it upside this, you see the problem. Well, maybe you can see the problem. Basically what the problem is there's a bracket up in here that is sticking up to retain all this crap, and it's got to go. Otherwise the stereo sticks out like 1.5 inches too far, and it's annoying. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, I'm sure. Some people probably take the bracket out, but I like having the bracket hold up the stereo. It makes a lot more stability. So my plan is to come in here with Mr. Sawzall and zip and try to bend this bracketry down. May work, may not work. Only one way to find out, and that's with a Sawzall and get to cutting. Try to do this with as little butchery as possible. We might be getting an implement of bashing here and see if I can bend that down a little bit. But I think we're pretty dang close to making that slide in. Ta-da! It fits. And what it was, there were 2 more brackets at the very top that were hanging down that compressed the old stereo system into place. Lop those off, and in she goes. Looks like the job of Mr. Sawzall ain't quite done yet because, oops, apparently I did not read the instruction manual that was non-existent with this Mitra kit here, and they didn't bother to tell me that the climate control has to be located downward, which, oops, and same story with the stereo, so both of those brackets are going to have to be lopped out of there, and everything's going to have to be dropped down a little bit. Crap. Measure twice, cut once. I didn't measure at all before I cut. Oh well, no harm, no foul. I was trying to do with the minimal amount of hackery, but yeah, hackery was not part of it. But I was wondering why they gave me bracket systems with the Mitra kit. Now I think I know it's for relocating the climate control. So I'll take a look at that and get it all figured out, and we'll go from there. You want to see a grown man cry? I'll show you what it takes to put in a stereo system, a double dim with subwoofer and backup camera in a C5 Corvette. Look at it. Just look at the rat's nest of wiring. Look at the poor bracketry where my, pristine C5 was. But All the wiring in here is done. The only thing I don't have is the stupid antenna adapter that GM just had to use back in the day. But honestly, I've got enough stuff here. I can make a trip to Walmart tomorrow and get what I need. But basically, yeah, the primary amp wire, this red guy right here, goes through there, under there, through a grommet, and out through the engine bay over there. Everything is going to run back through here, all the way to the rear of the car, which is also torn out. I like putting in stereos, but this is debacle. This is horrendous. The only thing I've ever done worse than this was the rewiring the Infinity sound system in an 04 Dodge Ram, and that requires legit rewiring every part of the car because nothing can be used. This sucks, but it is in. It does play music. So hang with me for a little bit here. I'm just going to do a lot of taping and making this look a lot better. So yeah, be right back. Alright, so I got a lot of the wiring cleaned up in here, heading back. It's not quite as bad as it was. I got the floorboard put back together over here where I've got the power supply for the amp coming through there. It just goes through a grommet right above the fuse block. I would have filmed it, but you can't really see what I was doing over there. Comes up here, goes back there. So where I'm at right now is I've got the backup camera hooked up, and for some silly reason the backup camera is not coming on. It's wired properly, everything is set up, it's just giving me a blank image. I have tested the power, I've tested the ground to it, I've tested the actual RCA cable itself, and all of them check out. So either I'm missing something on there or that backup camera is bad. It's pissing me off to no end. But I got all that. And I'll tell you something that will trip a lot of people up. I'm going to show it to you in the owner's manual of this stupid Pioneer head unit. It says right here, light green, used to detect the on-off status of the parking brake. The lead must be connected to the power supply side of the parking brake switch. That would be this guy right here. Light green, parking brake. Says you're supposed to connect it to the power supply side. This does not go to the power supply side. It goes to a ground. This, and I encountered this same typo a good 6 years ago, and they still haven't fixed it on their Pioneer units. This guy plugs into a ground, not a power supply. It will drive you up the wall, and you can't access Bluetooth settings to pair your phone unless this stupid thing is hooked up. So yeah, it can really mess with people. But anyway, I normally don't do a two-part series. I try to get it done, but I am still miles off. I've still got to mount the climate control back where it's supposed to be with that, all of this. But honestly, I am fried for the night. I am royally pissed off at the camera, and whenever I get that pissed off at something, I tend to just walk away from it rather than, you know, keep at it, because usually the next day it all falls right into place and it's something stupid. So yeah, I'm just going to call it for the night. I'm going to go grab an adult beverage and relax, and I will be back tomorrow with part 2 of this. So as always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you're enjoying these videos and you want to see more.